Hey guys, this is Rugby Queen. So I wanted to make this video. So I'm about fucking irritated with everybody bitching and complaining about the US women's soccer team. They just constantly gotta find something else to bitch about. So I am making this video in response to people who had an issue with the US women's soccer team drinking and partying in the locker room after winning the Women's World Cup final. Saying that they're so immature, they're bad role models for little girls. These are the role models for our little girls. Listen, these are grown ass women. And guys, let me just tell you something. They just won the Women's World Cup. And those of you bitching obviously don't know how big the Women's World Cup is for women's soccer. The Women's World Cup is the grandest stage for women's soccer. The grandest stage for women's soccer, the Women's World Cup, is the WrestleMania. The Women's World Cup is the Super Bowl. That's how grand it is for women's soccer. Even in men's soccer, the grandest stage for men's soccer is the World Cup. Guys, the World Cup, they only come every 4 years. The Women's World Cup is only around every 4 years. And I don't think you guys realize this. You don't understand the history of the Women's World Cup. The Women's World Cup hasn't been around as long as the men's. As a matter of fact, the inaugural Women's World Cup was back in 1991. You guys have no idea how much the women who competed in these World Cups had to fight to get to where the Women's World Cup is today. Back in 1991, the U.S. women's soccer team, they were in China. Most of them had to pay for their own airfare. They had to pay for their own food. It was terrible food. They weren't paid very much. They had to scrape pennies together just to be able to do it. And at the time, nobody even knew there was a Women's World Cup. U.S. women's soccer team, they went there, there was only, 8 teams at the time competing. 8 teams. Every single women's team scraping pennies, getting paid shit, getting bad food. They didn't get special treatment. They didn't have the money at the time. The U.S. women's soccer team, they went through hell. In 1991. They won the World Cup, all that hard work, and they thought once we get back to the States, everybody's going to hear about us, everybody's going to be wanting to get our picture. They got back to the United States, showed up in the airport. There was only 3 people who were there to meet them. Not many people in the United States even knew the U.S. women's soccer team existed. They didn't know they existed. I watched the documentary. If you watch the documentary of the 91ers of the U.S. women's soccer team, I'm telling you, it gets me emotional watching what they went through. All that hard work. Just to see their faces when they showed up and nobody was there to meet them. The look of disappointment. And then in 1995, the World Cup was played in Sweden. The U.S. women's soccer team actually ended up losing up the semifinal that year. It wasn't until 1999 that the Women's World Cup was held in the United States. That's when people started paying attention. Oh, that's when they started paying attention. Now, even after the 99 World Cup and they won, it was iconic. That 99 World Cup when Brandi Chastain kicked that winning penalty kick. It sparked not only a movement, not just for women's soccer, but for women's sports, period. Basketball, soccer, softball, you name it. They put women's sports on the map. They got it on the map. It didn't take off right away, but they got it on the map. Guys, the U.S. women's soccer team and just the Women's World Cup in general has come a long way. We can't forget the 91ers, the 95ers, the 99ers. It's because of them that the Women's World Cup is where it is today. You have no idea. No idea. No idea what these women had to do to get to where the Women's World Cup is today. The prize money for winning the Women's World Cup is double now what it was in 99. Three professional women's soccer leagues, or was it? No. Yeah, two. Two professional women's soccer leagues have failed because they didn't have the finances to keep it going. They thought after the 99 World Cup that more people would watch. It didn't take off right away, but right now, here we are, 2019. The NWSL, the National Women's Soccer League, has been around now. This is the longest running women's professional soccer league that it's doing well. They finally have an established women's professional soccer league. I'm telling you guys, you have no idea how far women's soccer has had to come. You have no idea what the soccer players, the female soccer players had to go from back then had to go through to get to where the sport is today. So I am defending the U.S. women's soccer team drinking and partying in the locker room after winning. This is the grandest stage for women's soccer. And they won. They won. The U.S. women's soccer team won on the grandest stage for women's soccer. And for that, they deserve to party however the fuck they want to. Let them party. They deserve it. That don't make them bad role models. They're grown-ass women. They can drink if they want. They can party and celebrate if they want to. And I guarantee you, a bunch of you parents, I'm sure if your kids, they grow, your little girls, when they grow up and become professional soccer players, I'm pretty sure if they won on the grandest stage of them all, I'm sure they'd be celebrating the same way too. They deserve to. They can party however they want. They're grown-ass women. I mean, if you don't want your girls to see them partying it up like that, don't show it to them. They don't need, it is, who cares? They can celebrate how they want to. They just won the Women's World Cup. The way that they celebrated in the locker room, drinking and partying, listen, it's no different than the way these teams celebrate after they win the Super Bowl, after they win the Men's World Cup, after they win a WNBA championship, after you win an NBA championship. Almost every sports team that wins on the grandest stage of their sport will party and drink. Most of them do it. The U.S. women's soccer team is no different. They're no different. So all of you bitching and complaining about the U.S. women's soccer team drinking and partying it up, you just shut the hell up. If you don't like it, don't watch it. You don't want your little girls to see it? Don't show it to them. But quit running your mouth about how, oh, they're partying, they're bad role models. No, they're not. They just won the World Cup, and they're celebrating. And they can celebrate however the fuck they want to. I'm Rugby Queen. I'm out.